Has it ever happened to you that you clean, and clean, and yet, the dust comes back as if you hadn't done anything? You wake up early, wipe surfaces, sweep, vacuum. But at the end of the day, everything feels dirty again, and you don't understand why. You feel like your home is never truly clean, and that's frustrating. That feeling of wasting your time can really hurt, especially when you do everything you can to have a spotless home for your family. There's nothing more annoying than watching your efforts vanish in the blink of an eye, and worse, not knowing why. You get to work, thinking this time you're really doing it, and when you realize it, the house looks just the same as before. That feeling of being trapped in a fruitless routine is devastating. But let me tell you something, it's not your fault. It's not because you're not cleaning enough or because you're not doing it with care. The truth is, there are invisible factors, sometimes so small we don't even notice, that are constantly filling your house with dust again and again. Things that, if not addressed, will continue to perpetuate this frustrating cycle. Because it's not just about cleaning, it's about eliminating the sources of the dust. There are habits and details that, without you knowing, are feeding the dust you're trying so hard to get rid of. And today I want to speak directly to you, the one who carries the weight of the home on your shoulders. You who wake up early, work late, and still feel like you're never quite reaching that goal of having a clean and tidy house. I want you to know this isn't a curse or an impossible task. There are simple things you can change, but it's important to know them first. It's not magic or luck. It's simply understanding what's really happening, what's truly affecting the cleanliness of your home. And once you know, you'll be able to take control. And let me tell you in advance, point number 8, the one that seems so insignificant, is the one we often overlook. It's the most ignored, but the one that makes the biggest difference. So if you've ever felt frustrated, feeling like no matter how much you clean, the dust is always there, stay with me. I promise that with these small changes, you're going to start seeing a real difference, one that will surprise you. Today, together, we're going to break that cycle of frustration. It's not about cleaning more, it's about cleaning smarter. And most importantly, it's about cleaning in a way that lets your home truly breathe peace and freshness. Are you ready to find out how? Let's start with the first, poorly sealed windows. Many times we think that simply closing the window is enough, but it's not. Windows, especially in older homes or poorly installed ones, can have tiny cracks barely visible, through which outside air sneaks in without us realizing it. And with that air, comes dust. Much more than you'd imagine. Think about this. During the day, the wind constantly blows, carrying particles from the environment. Dust from the street, dirt from nearby gardens, smoke, pollen, even ash if you live in an area where garbage is burned or where there's heavy traffic. All of that comes in through those small openings. Even if you can't see them, the dust finds its way. It slips through the edges of the windows, gets into the crevices of the frames, and once inside, it begins to settle. First on the edges, then on nearby furniture, then across the whole room. Even if you clean daily, the dust returns because it keeps entering. It's like trying to dry the floor while the faucet is still running. You can't win that battle until you stop the flow. And in many cases, that flow comes from exactly there, poorly sealed windows. We often overlook that detail. We focus on what we can see, clean curtains, shiny glass. But it's the invisible things that cause the most harm. If your windows aren't well sealed, dust will come in every day, even if you don't open them once. So what can you do? First, a full inspection. On a calm day, light a candle or an incense stick and slowly pass it around the edges of each window. If you see the flame or smoke move, it means there's a draft. That's a crack. Another way is to pass your hand slowly along the edge. If you feel even the slightest breeze, there's a problem there too. Once you identify the leaks, the solution is much simpler than it seems. You don't need to hire anyone. Just buy a tube of silicone sealant. It's sold in any hardware store, and an applicator. Clean the area thoroughly, dry it completely, and apply the silicone along the crack. Let it dry for a few hours, and that's it. You can also use adhesive weather stripping made of rubber or foam, which sticks to the frame and blocks the airflow. They're very affordable and effective. This small afternoon job can completely change the feel of your home. You'll notice the environment stays cleaner, the air fresher, and that the dust doesn't show up as quickly as before. It's one of those things no one tells you about, but once you do it, you wonder why you didn't do it sooner. Second reason, rugs and carpets. At first glance, they seem harmless. They add warmth, style, color. They make a room feel cozier. But behind that lovely aesthetic hides one of the biggest silent enemies of cleanliness in your home. Carpets are like giant sponges that absorb absolutely everything that falls on them. Airborne dust, dead skin cells, hair, lint, food crumbs, pet fur, pollen, dirt brought in on shoes. Everything. They absorb it, store it, accumulate it. And the problem isn't just that they do it once, it's that they keep doing it every single day, non-stop. If they're not cleaned frequently and properly, what started as a decorative touch turns into a constant dust-producing machine inside your home. And the worst part is that many times, you can't even see it. You can look at a rug and think it's clean because there are no stains, but that doesn't mean it's free of dust. Dust hides in the fibers, clings over time, and when you walk over it, those invisible particles rise and spread through the air. You breathe that air. So do your kids. And if you have babies crawling or pets resting on those rugs, they're in direct contact with all that microscopic dirt. Now, if you also have pets, the situation gets even worse. Hair gets embedded in the carpet as if it were part of the fabric. Dust and pet dander mix together, and in no time you have an ecosystem of dirt that's impossible to manage without constant maintenance. And be careful, it's not just about visible dust. We're talking about mites, bacteria, allergens, things you can't see, but that do affect your health. That's why, if you choose to have carpets at home, you must do so fully aware of the commitment they require. Shaking them out is not enough. They need to be vacuumed thoroughly, at least twice a week. Ideally, use a vacuum with a HEPA filter, which traps the smallest particles and doesn't release them back into the air. And not only that, at least once a month, you should have them deep cleaned or wash them if the material allows. A good practice is to take them out in the sun. The sun not only helps dry them, but also acts as a natural disinfectant. Flip it over, shake it hard, let it air out. That simple gesture can significantly reduce the dust load. Another important recommendation, assess what kind of carpets you have. Long pile ones, although beautiful, are the hardest to maintain. Consider replacing them with low-profile rugs, washable materials, or even more practical options like vinyl rugs, which are much easier to clean and don't accumulate as much dust. And if you live in a very dusty area, or if you simply don't have time to give them the care they deserve, it's totally fine to go without them. Often, less is more. A clean floor with no carpet can be 1,000 times healthier and easier to maintain than a room full of rugs that only collect dirt. Remember, dust doesn't always come from outside. Many times, it's trapped right there, under your feet. Third reason, poor ventilation. This is one of the most common mistakes, and paradoxically, we make it with good intentions. Many people avoid opening windows for fear that more dust, dirt, or pollution will enter from outside. They stay closed inside thinking that this way everything stays cleaner, more controlled. But what they're actually doing, unknowingly, is the exact opposite. When you don't ventilate, the air inside your home becomes stagnant. It gets heavy and saturated. Everything released into the air, dust from furniture, textiles, clothes, human skin, pet hair, smoke from cooking, steam from the bathroom, aerosols, cleaning products, all of that remains suspended in the air, floating and building up with no way out. And since the air doesn't circulate, that dust doesn't leave, it simply settles slowly onto the furniture, the floor, your bed, your sheets, the clothes on a chair, the shelves, everything. Day after day. It's like living in a sealed fish tank. At first it looks clean, but over time, every movement creates more residue, and if there's no airflow to refresh the space, it becomes a heavy, dirty environment even if it doesn't look like it, and potentially harmful to your health. Moreover, in enclosed spaces, humidity increases, especially if you cook or shower frequently without opening a window. That humidity combined with dust is the perfect breeding ground for mites and mold. And if you have respiratory problems or allergies, this environment can make everything worse without you even realizing it's due to the lack of ventilation. The solution? It's not about leaving the windows open all day or exposing your home to street dust. It's about doing it strategically. Open windows crosswise so air comes in from one side and exits through the other. Just 30 minutes a day can refresh the air in your whole house. And if you do it early in the morning or at sunset, you'll avoid the times with the most dust in the air. Even on windy days, you can open just a small crack or use mesh or fabric to filter what comes in, while still allowing airflow. It's also helpful to consider furniture placement. Don't block air inlets with large furniture or heavy curtains. Allow the air to flow, to circulate, let the house breathe. In spaces like bathrooms or kitchens, where humidity builds up quickly, even opening a small window during and after use makes a big difference. And if you live in an area where opening windows is truly difficult due to pollution or noise, consider using an air purifier with HEPA filters. It doesn't replace natural ventilation, but it helps keep the environment cleaner. Remember, a house that's always closed is not a clean house. It's a stuffy house. Clean air is life, and letting it circulate is as important as sweeping the floor. Because not all dust is visible, but it is breathed in. Fourth reason, overuse of the duster. This is one of those habits we inherit, that we've seen since we were kids, that seem harmless and even useful. But in reality, they do more harm than good if not used properly. Did you know that most traditional dusters don't remove dust, they just stir it up? Yes, that duster you pass over the shelves, the decorations, the TV, isn't cleaning. It's just shaking things up. What you're actually doing is releasing an invisible cloud of particles that were previously settled and still, and now they're floating through your home's air. And the worst part is that you often don't even notice. You finish cleaning, and the room looks perfect, no dust on the surface. But hours later, everything looks the same again, or even worse. Why? Because the dust you stirred up didn't disappear. It just got redistributed. It remains in the air, settles elsewhere, enters your lungs, your children's, your pets. And then it falls again. It's a never-ending cycle caused by a tool that's supposed to help, but when misused, only deceives you. And this gets worse if you have allergies or respiratory problems. Because that dust floating in the air isn't just dirt. It's made up of dead mites, mite feces, dander, hair, textile fibers, and more. All of that ends up in the air you breathe when you move it around with the duster. Instead of cleaning, you're making the air quality worse. So, what should you do? The solution is as simple as it is effective. Swap the duster for damp cloths or, even better, microfiber cloths. Microfiber cloths have a special structure that traps dust like a magnet. They don't push it around. They don't release it. They trap it and hold it until you rinse them out. If you slightly dampen them, they stick even better to the particles without leaving residue or raising clouds of dust. And here's something even better. Microfiber cloths are reusable. You can wash and reuse them dozens of times. Not only do they clean better, but they're also more economical and eco-friendly in the long run. The key is that they shouldn't be soaked, just slightly damp, enough to trap the dust without leaving marks or moisture on surfaces. It's also a good idea to use a different cloth for each area. Don't clean the bathroom and then the kitchen with the same cloth. And when you're done, wash them thoroughly so they don't become another source of dirt. If you want to go a step further, there are options like microfiber mops for floors, dust-catching gloves, or even soft brushes with suction systems. Anything that traps dust, not just moves it around. Take a look at your cleaning routine. Think about how many times you've used a duster out of habit. Now imagine how much dust you've been stirring up and breathing in all those days. Effective cleaning isn't about what you can see, it's about removing what you can't see. Changing such a common tool can make a huge difference in how the air in your home feels. Because sometimes, the problem isn't how often you clean, but how you do it. Fifth reason, your bedding. This is one of the biggest dust accumulators in the house, and often goes unnoticed. We sleep on it every night, touch it with our face and body, breathe it in for hours. And yet, we don't always give it the care it deserves. But the truth is, sheets, blankets, pillows and mattresses are a complete ecosystem of dust, dead skin, and yes, dust mites. Each night, without realizing it, our bodies release sweat, natural oils, and millions of dead skin cells. All of that builds up in the fibers of the bedding. And if you have the habit of sleeping with your hair loose, you're also adding hair products, stray hairs, airborne particles. And if you have pets that get on the bed, the situation gets even worse. Over time, all of that becomes the perfect food source for dust mites. These microscopic creatures don't bite or appear to the naked eye, but they're there. They feed on our dead skin, reproduce in fabrics, and their waste, specifically their feces, is one of the main triggers of allergies, asthma, and respiratory issues in many people. And simply making the bed by pulling the sheet up doesn't solve the problem. Often, all you're doing is covering up everything that's built up without letting it air out or release the moisture trapped overnight. A bed made right after waking up can preserve the perfect environment for these microorganisms. So what should you do? First and most importantly, wash all bedding at least once a week, no excuses. Sheets, pillowcases, and light blankets should go in the washing machine with hot water if the material allows. This not only removes dust and dirt but also kills mites and other allergens. Pillows also need attention. Many people sleep on the same pillow for years without washing it. But thousands of mites literally live inside them. If they're washable, throw them in the washer every 2 months. If not, at least vacuum them regularly and air them out in the sun. And here's a golden tip: use anti-mite covers. These covers act as a barrier between you and the mites living inside the mattress or pillow. They're easy to find and can completely change the quality of the air you breathe while you sleep. Also, get in the habit of shaking out and airing your bed every morning. Don't rush to cover it up as soon as you get up. Open the windows, let fresh air in, pull the sheets tight, give them a good shake, and let everything breathe. If possible, expose the bed to sunlight. The heat helps dry out moisture and keeps those invisible bugs at bay. Your mattress also deserves a cleaning. At least once every 3 months, vacuum it with a special attachment and, if you can, sprinkle a bit of baking soda on it. Let it sit for a few hours and then vacuum again. This helps eliminate odors, moisture, and trapped particles. Sleeping in a clean bed isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Not just for your physical health, but also for your rest. A clean environment improves sleep quality, reduces allergies, and most importantly, decreases the amount of dust silently generated while you sleep. Because yes, while you rest, dust doesn't. Sixth reason: furniture with too many decorations. This is one of the most underestimated factors when it comes to dust in the home. Often, we decorate with love, with memories and objects that have emotional value. Vases, figurines, picture frames, travel souvenirs, small sculptures, collections, gifts. All of these end up on shelves, display cases, and furniture. But here's the uncomfortable truth: all of those objects become dust traps. Every exposed surface is an opportunity for dust to settle. And it's not just about the visible dust. It accumulates in corners, at the base, between figures, behind frames, on lids, in folds. And over time, it becomes part of the atmosphere. The worst part is that cleaning not only takes more time, but often gets done poorly. With so many small objects, we end up just cleaning what we see, quickly wiping over the top, and leaving behind piles of dirt in the harder to reach spots. The result: a house that looks clean on the outside but keeps producing dust over and over again. And if you have open furniture without doors or closed display cabinets, the dust circulates freely, settling on every decoration no matter how often you clean. This kind of accumulation also affects the visual feel of the home. A house with too many decorations can feel saturated, heavy, and cluttered. It can even cause anxiety without you realizing it. It's not about living in an empty, soulless house, but about finding a balance between aesthetics and functionality. The solution is simple, though it might be emotionally challenging: simplify. Take an honest look at all those decorations you have. Ask yourself which ones you truly like, which hold special meaning for you, and which are just there because they've always been there. It's perfectly fine to keep memories, but you don't need to have all of them on display all the time. Choose the ones that best represent you and store the rest carefully. You can rotate them with the seasons if you want to keep variety, but let your spaces breathe. With fewer decorations, cleaning becomes easier, faster, and more effective. You can wipe with a microfiber cloth without obstacles, reach every corner without moving 20 things first, and actually keep your furniture clean for longer. Visually, your house will look tidier, more spacious, and more elegant. The famous "less is more" is not just a pretty saying, it's a real strategy for cleanliness and well-being. And if you don't want to get rid of everything, consider closed display cabinets for delicate items. They protect against dust and still showcase what you love. You can also group decorations on trays or bases, making it easier to move them all at once when cleaning. Reducing the number of items doesn't mean losing, it means gaining space, time, and health. A home doesn't feel warm because of the number of objects, but because of how it makes you feel. And trust me, breathing cleaner air, moving freely, and feeling like your home is truly clean is worth more than any ornament. 7th reason, not cleaning air conditioner or fan filters. This is one of the most common and invisible mistakes, because we often don't even think to check there. But the truth is, these devices, meant to make your home more comfortable, can turn into real dust factories if not properly maintained. Let's break it down. Air conditioner filters are designed to trap airborne particles, dust, pollen, spores, pet hair, and pollutants. Their job is to clean the air before it circulates in your home. But what happens when that filter is dirty? It stops filtering properly. Even worse, every time you turn on the device, that same built-up dust gets released into the air. Yes, you're literally blowing dirt into every corner without knowing it. And it's not just an aesthetic or cleanliness issue. Constantly breathing contaminated air can trigger allergies, respiratory issues, eye and throat irritation, and headaches. If there are children, elderly people, or someone with asthma in the house, it becomes even more critical. The same goes for fans, both ceiling and tabletop. When they spin, they move air. And if their blades, motor, or vents are dusty, that dust gets blown in every direction. Sometimes you don't notice right away, but after a few hours the environment feels dirtier, furniture is dusty again, and you wonder why everything's covered again even though you cleaned just yesterday. So what should you do? The first step is to build the habit of checking filters and fans at least once a month. You don't need fancy tools or special products. Most air conditioner filters are detachable and can be easily washed with warm water and mild soap. Remove them gently, clean them with a soft brush, rinse thoroughly, and let them dry completely before reinstalling. If the filter is disposable, check if it's too dark or clogged and replace it. Don't wait until it's black or the airflow is barely coming through the vents. A clean filter not only improves air quality but also helps the appliance work better and use less energy. As for fans, turn them off, unplug them, and wipe each blade with a damp cloth or sponge and soapy water. Make sure not to leave moisture in the motor, and dry them well before using again. If it's a ceiling fan, use a safe ladder and clean the top part too. That area collects a thick layer we rarely see. Make this part of your monthly routine. Put it on your calendar if needed. Because yes, it might seem like a small detail, but it makes a huge difference. You're not only reducing airborne dust, but also improving the quality of the air you and your family breathe every day. Cleaning the air starts with cleaning the devices that move it. Give them the care they deserve, and your home, and your lungs, will thank you. 8th reason, the entrance of your home. And this may be one of the most ignored, yet also one of the most crucial. Think about it. How many times do you walk into your home after walking on the street, on the sidewalk, on dirt, on damp areas, through places where others have stepped, without taking a second to consider what you're bringing in on the soles of your shoes? Every step you take outside collects particles, dust, dirt, dry leaf residue, chemicals, grime, bacteria, and in some cases, even toxic waste or animal feces. All of that sticks to your soles. Then you walk into your house, cross the threshold, and without realizing it, you turn the floor of your home, the same floor you walk barefoot on, where children play, where you sometimes sit, into an extension of the outdoors. But this time, without the ventilation or space for those particles to disperse. They stay there, trapped, dirtying your home from the very first step. And it's not just the visible dust. There are particles so tiny you don't even notice them. They float through the air, settle on furniture, carpets, bedding. All of that contributes to making your home feel constantly dirty, even if you clean all the time. And you know what's most frustrating? That all that effort, cleaning, sweeping, mopping, can be undone with just a couple of steps in dirty shoes. So, what's the solution? It's very simple, but it requires commitment. Create a real barrier at the entrance. The first line of defense is a good doormat. Not a decorative, thin one that only looks pretty. No. You need a thick one, with texture, capable of trapping dirt and grime before it crosses the threshold. Place it right outside the door and make sure to use it every time. But don't stop there. The next step is adopting the habit and teaching others in your home to take off their shoes when entering. Yes, always. Not just when it's raining, not just after sports. Always. Make it a house rule, a part of the daily ritual. You can place a small shelf, an indoor mat, or a shoebox near the door to make changing shoes quick and convenient. Even having clean slippers or socks to switch into right there can make the transition more pleasant. At first, it might be hard, especially if you're not used to it or if you live with people who don't see the need. But with consistency, it becomes part of everyday life. And the difference you'll notice is incredible. The floor stays cleaner for longer, the amount of dust floating around your home drops significantly, and most importantly, the environment becomes healthier. This practice is common in cultures where household order and cleanliness are a priority. It's not an exaggeration, it's an effective, simple, and 100% doable measure that makes a before and after difference. Your home should be a sanctuary, not an extension of the street pavement. Start at the entrance. Block the dust before it crosses the door, and you'll see how everything inside stays fresher, cleaner, and more pleasant. It all begins with a simple act, taking off your shoes. Your home doesn't deserve to be a place that makes you feel frustrated after so much effort. It's not fair that you clean again and again, spend hours sweeping, dusting, washing, and the next day, everything looks the same. It's not fair that you feel your home drains your energy instead of giving it back. That tiredness, that silent resignation that creeps in when you look around and everything seems dirty again, that shouldn't be part of your everyday life. Your home should be your rest, your pause, your safe corner, a place where you walk in, breathe, and feel relief, not stress. That's why these small changes are so important. Because yes, they're simple things, but they're details that transform. It's not about turning your house into a sterile clinic or cleaning non-stop. It's about taking control, about understanding where the dust comes from, why it keeps coming back, and what you can realistically and practically do to reduce it. Each of these actions, even if it seems small, has a real impact. Sealing windows properly, minimizing hard-to-clean rugs, smart ventilation, swapping dusters for damp cloths, washing bedding often, removing unnecessary decorations, keeping filters clean, and setting up an entrance barrier. All of that adds up. All of that makes the air you breathe cleaner. It makes your efforts last longer. It makes your home look and feel different. And most of all, it makes you feel better, lighter, more at peace. Because you deserve to live in a space that not only looks good in photos, but also embraces you when you arrive. That smells clean, feels organized, and makes you want to be there. Not out of obligation, but out of joy. Because it's your refuge, your place in the world. And if this video helped you, if any of these ideas opened your eyes or gave you a little push to make a change, share it with another woman who might be struggling with the same thing. Because so often we think we're the only ones, that we're being a bit dramatic, or that that's just how the house is. But no, you're not alone. There are so many women exhausted by this silent battle with dust, without fully understanding where it's coming from. So share it, woman to woman, home to home. Because together, with small but powerful gestures, we can turn our spaces into what they were always meant to be, sanctuaries. Places where the body rests, the mind breathes, and the heart feels at home.